Hey everyone, Temporal here, and for this session we are reviewing a Silver Lucio player. If you guys are enjoying the content, please do like and subscribe, as that really does help me out quite a bit, and I do appreciate it. Or if you are looking to get coaching yourself, you can join my Discord in the description below, see what rates look like, what sort of promos, events we have going on, all that good stuff.
4, 3, 2, 1.
I hear you,
Attackers
Game Buster.
incoming.
Lucio's a fun one. He's not the easiest to climb with, but he's a fun one. That's a Widow.
1.
Let's do this again.
Attackers incoming.
Oh, hey, that's a Widow shot.
Escort
We see the
payload.
bullet trail right there. That's a Widow shot. We do not go to exactly where she's holding her sight line and try to shoot her from here. That is not a good way to play the game. Please don't do that. Instead, we go, oh, hey, I'm going to ride, maybe I'm going to crisscross to climb, I'm going to go over here, I'm going to go over here, I'm going to go over here, let me hop over here, let me hop over here, let me hop over here, bye Lucio, or bye Widow, and we knock her off the edge. That's what we do as Lucio. We do not go, hey, let me go to exactly where she fired her last shot, and try to poke her from low ground from here, where she's going to be aiming her crosshair. That's not a thing that we do. It's not a thing that we do. If you'd instead gone, hey, that takes too long to go red, double back to climb it, and then go across, I'd be totally fine. I wouldn't be totally fine, but I would accept you using the pillar to the cart over to yellow, and then doing what we talked about with your wall riding, and then you can take a couple shots at her, boop her, whatever you want there. Whatever you want there would be great. Widows aren't lightning. They will, in fact, shoot at the same spots. They will.
Time to accelerate.
Okay. Do you know where the Widow relocated to?
I am loving
Better. At least you broke that angle not on the ground. Did you break it with speed? I think you did. Better. You'd really needed to be on that wall immediately, though, for the speed, because now you're here, and I don't really want you here. You being here isn't to our benefit. Okay. What are you doing by swapping back and forth between heals and speed here? Are you thinking, hey, I want to be on heals because this is poke phase? Or are you thinking, hey, I want to be on speed because our team is rotating through a dangerous spot right now? Which is your thought here? You could make an argument for either. I think at this moment you should be on heals because your team is clearly not interested in going to cover, so you might as well give them heals. Or you could personally have speed because you are interested in, say, riding into here, or riding up here into here, flipping sides, challenging that, coming back here, popping up over here, seeing if there's something to challenge, threatening from up here. Those are all things that you could do. You just toggling between speed and heals here, however, isn't really helping.
You feel that?
Oh, you're just standing in the open. Stop it. Yeah, just spamming the button. Just spamming Crossfade isn't the way. It might look to you like higher level Lucio players. Maybe you're watching higher level Lucio players and they spam the button in your mind's eye. So you think that's what they're doing and you're trying to mimic it. Or maybe you've heard advice that changing your stance makes you individually hard to hit because it helps change your speed more, which messes with people's aim. So let's correct what's actually going on. It might seem like people are changing randomly, but they're not. They're understanding that they want to be on speed when their team is rotating, when their team is pushing, when their team is really trying to finish stuff. They want to be on speed when their team is using ults, etc. And they want to be in heals between fights and when the team is in poke phase, when the teams are just sort of poking at each other, maybe starting to take position, but not really serious yet, not committed to the fight, not super steep angles, and not brawling, a dive hasn't happened, etc. Now, you will see more than that. I've described sort of the main principles of when you're in speed versus heals, but you will see more than that. You will sometimes see Lucio is using a swap between speed and heals, not as rapidly as you were, but a swap like you did for his own evasiveness. His team might need heals, for example, but he might go on speed for a moment because he needs to make a jump. He needs to make a jump. When he's coming off of a wall, he would like to be on speed because if he's going to jump across a gap, let's say this window is a gap, he might go, hey, I am on heals because that's what my team needed. I'm going to swap to speed for a moment. To get speed, I'm going to jump off on speed and I'm going to swap to heals while going through the air because I don't need it. I have some of my momentum from having jumped with speed. And then when I land again, if I want speed back, I'll go back to speed. And then when I jump off the wall on speed, but as soon as I'm off the wall, I'm back to heals because I can't really change my speed that much in the air anyways. Would rather be providing the heals to my team. You'll see stuff like that. You'll see stuff like he's going, hey, my teammates are purple, so I'll swap to speed even though we're in the poke phase. Like, you'll see stuff like that, but Lucios aren't changing randomly. They have a purpose. So I want you to be careful about your just spamming of the button that you're doing here.
Oh, turn it up.
And now you're amping heal for him. Okay.
Oh, turn it up.
So who's this for? Like, now you're on amp speed. Is it to help you evade? Now you're back on heals. Who is this for? Is this for your diva that's coming back? Your soldier's fine up there. Yeah, like, it's just not for anyone. It's just not for anyone. Amp is your best cooldown. It's your only real cooldown. What are you using it like this for? You want to have amp available when your team is ready to seriously push. That's the best use of amp. When your team is ready to seriously push, it's like, okay, we're using this to actually stick on top of the enemy team, to actually get on top of the enemy team. When our teams are ready to go, this is just an out in the middle of nowhere amp. Okay, so you got a tick of amp healing on Diva. Please don't push it up mid like this. Please don't do this. Okay. It's going to be hard to push through here. There's a Junkrat spamming shenanigans down here. Fortunately, their Sigma just went down. There's Reinhardt enforcing the choke. There's a Widow here. There's a BAP here. It's going to be hard to push through this. Your soldier had an idea. He was like, hey, I want to do work from up here. And now he's going, I'd like to do work from over here. Your diva was thinking she could do some work from over here, but she hasn't been able to sustain. They all had the right idea. You don't want to be here. You don't. If you'd gone up over here, you'd have the ability to boop their Reinhardt in to your team. Now, that might be bad for your Zen, because your Zen is so close, but like, if you called that you were going to boop Reinhardt in, your Zen could back up a little, and then the Rein's on this side of the choke, and your team has the ability to punish him. Your soldier can go, oh yeah, let me just step over here and melt him. Your Junkrat can go, yeah, let me melt him. Your Zen gets the Discord orb on him. Like, he's not going to like getting pushed past the choke out here. He wants to be back here or back here. If you push him past the choke, that's something that could help enable your team to get an elimination and then potentially be able to push. That's the type of thing you're looking to do. You don't need to just stand here and be like, well, I better be here to be on speed to move my Zen away. Yeah, that is something you'd be aware of in case the Reinhardt does decide to push, in case blue team does push here. But if you're over here, you can get back mighty fast to protect your Zen, to help speed your Zen away if you have to. So please do more of that. Right now you're just spamming the choke. This is not a thing. Not a thing! Does booping Orion really work in Bronze/Silver? Seems like a great way to get the team eliminated. I mean, you can say that you're doing it. You can say that you're doing it. Was that the absolute best boop there that I described? No. Is it conceptually a good boop? And will there be lots and lots of good windows for it, even if this particular window wasn't the greatest for it? Yes. Ideally we'd do it when we had our own tanks a little more here. Do you see the Rhine? What are you doing?
Payload has reached the checkpoint.
Okay, you're between fights, so you're in heals. Now you're in speed to push people up. Why are you here? Oh, you're amping heals just for your diva. Yuck.
Time to accelerate. Ha. Feel the healing gauge. Feel the healing beat.
I would like your team to push harder. I would like your team to push harder. If you're shouting in comms, push, 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 great. If you're just pressing the amp button, they're probably not even going to notice. It's unfortunate, but it's just the reality. So you need to go, hey, amping would be good here with a better team because a better team here would push. But you do need to recognize the realities of the situation you're in and go, is my team actually going to push off of this? Are they? Are they? Not really.
I am loving this.
So you have to figure out, are there other places you can use amp, or can you get your team to actually push when you do amp? So the first check is, hey, can I get my team to push if I use comms and I'm like push 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 when I press that amp, because that was a fine time for your team to push with the amp there. Or do you go, okay, I'm not going to get that, so I want to use my amp slightly differently. Do I want to heal with my amp, or do I want to use my amp to help pull my team out because they probably will retreat when they get pushed? And if they don't do that, then we make more adjustments.
Thank you. Winky teeth. 안녕.
Yeah, we're getting there. 1.1k subs.
Yeah, time to heal up. Oh. Time to accelerate.
Boop. And Reinhardt is suddenly in and totally surrounded, and Soldier can shoot him from the side, and Diva's right here, and Junkrat is spamming him, and he was thinking he could back out, but he's already at half health, and and he's not happy, and he has to back up, and then maybe he does back up, and he gets out just fine, but his shield is like got nothing left, so he can't push, and you guys get to get the cart from here to here for free. You see how that works? You go up and over here, you boop him in, you get yourself out safely. It works pretty nice. Works pretty nice. Or even if you don't boop him in, you do some shots at their Junkrat, at their BAP, at their Sigma, whatever the case is, get them to get annoyed and start shooting at you, and then you drop back down here. And you're fine. And you take away more of their attention by sending a few shots their way, as opposed to sending your shots into their Rhine shield, than they do, or you pull more of their attention by doing that, because then say let's take a look, BAP decides to spend some shots over here rather than on the Rhine shield, spend some shots on you. Okay, well, his shots into the Rhine shield were more valuable than your shots into the Rhine shield. So if you can send some shots his way to get some of his shots back on you that don't actually hit you, that's a good trade for you. Okay, so this is another we would like to be screaming push moment, where we go, hey, you have to take control of comms and yell push here. And you've pressed your amp, which is good, and you're on speed, but are you actually getting your team to push? Are you actually getting your team to push? No, you're not. And now you've gone over to heals. And it looks like you actually pressed your amp early. Let me take a look there. You're just chilling back here for some reason. What is this? Did she say she was going to self-destruct, so you threw amp? Are you amping to heal your soldier? Do you think you can justify an amp heal on your soldier and diva here? You definitely can't. No. And now you don't even have amp left. You don't have any amp going when this diva actually throws self-destruct. Okay, good. Two things are going on now that you can interact with. The two things that are going on that you can interact with is your soldier is popping visor. Maybe we want to go be near him with speed so that he can get around even faster to get value with this visor. That could be a thing, enabling a friend's ult with speed. Or we've got this Reinhardt right here. And this Reinhardt right here is already extended, already in. You could go over here, shoot him in the back while still having cover against his team. And if he starts to back up, feeling like he's done enough work, he's had enough aggression, you could boop him back in to keep him right here. If he starts to come back, you go, nope, and he goes right back to here. And he'll have been going back when he's getting lower on shield, when he's getting lower on health, or when he feels like I need to back up to protect my team more from the angle that this soldier has taken. So those are the two things we could be manipulating right now. Let's see which we do. I'm betting neither. Okay, he went there, that's fine. If you were escorting your soldier around with speed, this would not be something that he could do very well. You would, again, help your soldier move faster. But, hey, shooting him in the back has value, too. Your contributions were not adequate, and then you got widowed. No, the shield will block boop. The shield will block boop, but you can boop him when he's swinging, fire striking, or you can boop him in the back while his shield is up, and of course the shield won't block it. I mean, it's Silver Blanc. I'm not shocked that the Widow hits some shots, but also misses a lot. Like, this is par for the course here. Yes, Widow can be dominant on first and second point of this map, to the point where first point lockdowns used to be a very, very regular thing. But, again, Silver. Okay, but it's too late. Like, here we are. So, I like that we've finally taken the right idea. We're backing off. Your team is all super critical because they've just been doing work the whole time. You lose your Junkrat. You're having to use amp to get up here because you're not good enough at cross-hopping. This is a practicable skill. There is no reason you can't do this. This one's a little harder than some, but you do not need to use amp to get up this. You can just hop between these walls here to get up. That's a thing you can do. And then, this is easy. The Widow's scoped in and not looking at you. So your movement gets to be very, very easy right now. You slide around here. You hit with it. You don't even have to do any left to right movement. You hit your left click. You should get a bunch of headshots from your left click, and then you boop her. You actually hit your left click, you get a bunch of shots from your thing, and you go, hey, and you can weave Amelie in there too, and get even more damage on her. But like, this is not something we need to be worried about. We should get very good value against this Widow. That said, we did get the counter a limb on the bat. Maybe we're in this. You hear the Widow. You knew the Widow was up here. Why did you pull the trigger early? Lucio's hard to aim with. I understand that. It's not the easiest weapon to get control of.
Let's get patched up.
She's effectively standing still. She's scoped in. You hit with... Come on. Not only should you hit 80% of these shots, they should be headshots. The target's not moving. Like, this isn't an aim problem. This isn't a mouse control problem. This is a refusing to take what's given to you problem. I'm too excited, I better press the button. Like, no. Like, she's scoped in, she's looking for something. She's not paying attention to you. Let me just casually line up my shot, press the left click, hit all the shots or all but one of the shots, and then boop melee, all that jazz. Knock her off. She should be much more scared right now. Oh well. Yeah, that's amazing that she just hooked right back up here. I'm glad we got the limb, but like, Think about how much easier that could have been if we'd connected with all or most of our shots the first time before booping her down.
Turn it up.
At your service.
I don't particularly like this amp.
Yeah, time to heal up.
Your team's not going to push, so just be on heals. Yep.
The payload has reached the objective. My barrier is
Okay, this is fine. You're speeding, you would like your team to go in, you hit amp. Again, if you're pressing those amps, I really want you to be authoritatively telling your team to push. I can't hear your comms, but if you're going to press amp when you think your team should push, the amp itself is not enough. You have to be on comms. You have to say it. And if you are, you will consistently get more value than this. You won't get the clean, organized play level value, but you'll get more value than this. Good idea. Not a good placement for you, but booping the Reinhardt was a good idea. I don't know why you're here. Like, I actually don't know why you left this wall to go here. By leaving this wall, if you'd rode around this wall, so be it. But by jumping off this wall to here, you have nowhere to go. Like, you have nowhere to go. You don't have any real control over your movement. You're going to end up on the ground, and it's going to be there's no wall I can stick to. I don't have any outs. And I don't want you to not have any outs when there's a Widow right here, a BAP right here. That's literally you just counting on them to have bad aim. That's not what you want to do on Lucio. You want a little bit more help than that. You can disrespect them a little bit by going, hey, I'm doing wall ride shenanigans, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. You can disrespect them a little bit, but if you just completely disrespect them with, hey, I'm doing a predictable fall arc, and then I'm on the ground with nowhere to go, and all I can do is AD stuff, or try to walk over here, or try to walk over here, that's just not going to cut it. That's unacceptable. Again, you want to do wall stuff where you're in their line of sight, fine, I can live with that. At least you've got the wall, which makes you fast. You know, it goes, hey, the wall makes you faster. You get that 20% speed boost from being on the wall. You can hop off the wall. You can change your height a little bit. Like, at least you have that. Right now, no. You're very slow and predictable. Don't do this. This is not how we come off of walls. You're getting shot at. I'm shocked. Yeah. Without that trans, you probably go down. Why? Yes, you want the Junkrat. Good. And why are you here? Why are you here? Junkrat's gone. Fine. I can live with that. Why are you here? This was fine. You could work on the Junkrat from here. On the back wall would be fine. On this wall would be fine. I don't want you in the middle of the room like this on the ground. It's too easy for the Widow. It's too easy. If you're on the wall where you're at a little different height than normal and you're moving faster because of the wall, great. If you're on this wall, you can flip up to this wall, flip up to this wall, and go bother them. Fine with me. Or you could flip up, flip around here, go bother them. Fine by me. I do not want you on ground level, on the floor, not able to immediately get on a wall. I don't want that. And, you know, if you went here and you dove the Widow off of the wall, that I could live with because you're committing all into a dive. This is not committing. No, this is not Lucio.
Nothing's gonna stop it. Move to the beat.
enemy is
I need healing. Group up with me. Group up. What?
personne n'échappe.
Blah already hit you with an answer that's a sort of reasonable answer there, Game Buster, but how do I want to put this? Lucio, you can get to GM on every hero without using comms. It's been done many times. There's no real question there. That said, Lucio is one of those heroes that is expected to thrive in organization to a degree. If you want to play him in the standard way with your amp timings and your push timings and things like that, you're going to get disproportionate value from being on comms with him compared to some other heroes. He really does benefit from it pretty heavily. Can you do it without? Yes, but instead of going, hey, we're going to hit good amp speed timings, those will still work for you in GM. Those might still work for you in Masters, maybe even Diamond, but in Silver and Bronze, people aren't going to recognize your amp timings, so you're going to have to play much more reactive to I'm amping when they're already pushing, not amping because it's the right time to push. I'm amping when they're already pushing. But really, more than that, you're just going to have to go on a lot of solo backline missions to by yourself take down the Widowmaker, take down the BAP, etc. You're going to have to play Lucio a bit more like an offensive flanker if you're not willing to use comps. And he has that playstyle. He has the ability to do that. That said, you're matching up with a tricky kit. It's tricky to take down a BAP, like it's tricky to take down a BAP protected by a Lucio, a Zen protected by a Lucio, Anna protected by a Brig. Like that's going to be tricky as Lucio, obviously. You can do it, but that's if you're playing without comms, you have to lean a little bit more on that sort of thing. That said, what I've been mostly asking him to do is mostly to bother hit scan and the like that want to just stay still and be scoped. Widow's one of the easier ones to bother, truth be told, as Lucio.
Oh, turn it up. Push on.
Yeah, that happens.
Oh, this is my jam.
What are we doing?
Check this out.
What was that?
Oh, this is my jam.
What is this? No one's benefiting from this amp except for you. Don't spend your amp on this. Literally just go, I'm going to wait here to get healed up by my aura. Or I'm going to go back here and get this health back. Why on earth would you spend amp heals here? You have 0 people in range of you. This is terrible. This is terrible.
Check this out. Let's up the movement with play low. This is gonna make you feel better.
Can we please play on the left side of the cart so that we have cover? Oh, can you please check to your left? Can you please check to your left?
Fuck up time.
That did not just happen. Jesus. Let's rewind this just so that you see this.
This is gonna make you feel better.
You check to the left here. You check back. 618. I am uncomfortable. I am uncomfortable because I know the general area of the enemies. I don't know where the Widow specifically is, but I know the general area of the enemies, and you're looking all towards your friends here who are perfectly fine. You're not using the cart as cover remotely against the direction that the enemies are going to be. The enemies are going to be in this half relatively of like there. Your team roughly has control of this space. The opposing team roughly has control of this space. Please, please put yourself on this side, or better yet, this side of the cart. That's what I would like. You just stand here, you don't use the cover from the cart, and you put your direction, your focus, what your camera can see in the direction that is safe, while not having any cover against the direction that isn't safe. And then, somehow,
Hello.
oh look, there's a Widow! At 6:22, 4 seconds later. 4 seconds of you just standing still in the open, and she misses the shot. Lucky you, but oh my goodness. That is something else. Can we see this from the Widow's point of view? Sure. She's cruising. She's got 37 HP. She rushed it. I understand why she rushed it, but... Okay. You're fighting the soldier. Fine with me.
Special delivery
Use the wall.
on the way.
Good. Speed. You wanted to be speed there to make sure they caught him. Now you're choosing to be heals to call this a mini stabilize phase. Fine with me. Not sure why you're heals. This looks to me like a mini stabilize phase, but if you're thinking, hey, let's go speed so that my team can take more space, okay, sure. But now we're back to heals. But now we're back to speed. See, you're just spamming the button. I don't think you know what you're doing here. You're just spamming the button. We went over this at the beginning of the game. We don't just spam the button. We have purposes when we hit it. Sometimes our purpose is intentionally to be evasive, and we do a fair amount of switching back and forth. But if you wanted to be evasive right now, you would be on a wall. You would be on a wall. You would not just be ADing in the open, which is what you're doing. You're also on heals when there's an ult going off that your team needs to escape from.
Oh, you hear that?
That you just walked into.
Oh, let's break it. Damn!
It was early, but okay.
What is that melody?
Patched up.
Why are you on heals?
What?
Speed? Why are you swapping back to heals? Your team is using an ult. Your team is going to want to follow up on the ult. Please go speed. Please, good. No! Speed. I want speed. Speed aura. Speed aura. Fine. Your boop was fine. Your angle wasn't extreme enough. Let's get back
Let's
here.
get patched up.
Okay. Why are you drifting back to the right here? Drifting to the left puts you closer to a wall that you can use to pelt their Reinhardt from, to sort of guard this opening with. You can ride around above this just for ages, go like this. This is good. This is what we want. If you ride it up over here, your team's got your aura. If you ride it up over here, you can manipulate the Reinhardt pretty bad. Like, that's what we want. You're instead here. And then you go back towards the cart into a place where you can get shattered. By the way, anytime you get shattered as Lucio, you should be embarrassed. You didn't hear, but that's not any great thing on your part. That's just he chose not to hit you. And the reason you should be embarrassed about getting shattered on Lucio is you can stick to walls and you should live on them. Mm-hmm.
Get into position.
You have a bunch of random aura shifting that you need to clean up. You don't use the walls enough. You don't go on flanks to remove people often enough. You don't manipulate the Reinhardt on the opposing team really meaningfully at all. You use your amp speeds when you think your team should push, but you don't actually, as best I can tell, do anything to encourage them to push. And as soon as you realize that they're not going to push from your amp speeds, you need to adjust your amp speed usage and go, hey, I'm going to amp when they're actually pushing, or I'm going to use my amp in other ways, like to get them out when we ult, which they probably will be willing to push over. When when to heal, to sustain the push, that's bad, but it's better than not getting any amp value, which is basically what's happening to your amps. Okay.
Try not to get yourselves killed out there.
Attackers incoming in
Oh,
30
this is my
seconds.
jam.
Inglorious combat!
Let's take a look. You guys have questions? The whole segment made me lol. How did that Widovo live through the... They lost more than 100 HP. It had to have been the lamp. It had to have been the lamp. They were too close to not be in the maximum damage range. There we go.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Nothing's gonna stop it.
Attackers incoming. Stop the payload.
Don't get caught.
Heal up. Here, let's pick it up.
What? What? Excuse me? Please explain to me what your team was supposed to do with that amp. Were you healing 3+ people with an amp heal? Were you speeding your team into an engage? Were you pulling your team out of an engage? Were you letting your team follow up on an ult? Were you getting your team out of a blizzard? Like, what?
Heal up.
Who is supposed to be getting value from this speed amp? Now it's a heal amp. Who's supposed to be getting value? Now it's a speed amp again, and it's about to end. This is just random. Okay. I'll give more good amp examples, but like again, you can use your amp when your team is pushing. You can use your amp when your team ults because the team is very much more likely to push when they're ulting. You can use your amp to run away from an opposing team. You can use your amp selfishly to go in when you dive someone. When you're like, hey, I rode in over here, and now I'm using my amp as part of the dive to duel this BAP or whatever. But this is, you're using your amp to run away selfishly when you're at full health and no one's really looking at you? This is not a valid amp use. Yeah, you can switch an amp without losing it.
This is gonna make you feel better.
Hey, Mystery.
Raising the volume. Raising the volume.
Are you amping to heal your Reinhardt here? I'll live if that's what you're doing. It's not great, but I'll live. No, you're using speed. I think you just amped so that you could take high ground more easily. Learn to wall ride. This is a selfish amp, not as part of a dive, but a selfish amp so you can take high ground? Like, take the extra second to take high ground with a different wall riding route. Oh my goodness. And then you give up the high ground that you just spent your big cooldown for. Be nice to have an amp heal now, wouldn't it? There you go. Did you just fight Lucio or fight Reaper with heal aura up the whole time? You did. You did. So Lucio, you have 2 ways to manipulate distance. More than 2 ways, but we'll talk about 2 ways that you manipulate distance between you and melee heroes like Reinhardt and Reaper. One of them is your boop, which you used here, you used effectively, you sent the Reaper away, your hit scan then dealt with him, or your ranged DPS then dealt with him. I'm happy. But the other is speed aura. Okay, maybe I can't write correctly. Let's try that one more time. The other is speed aura. Just like this knocks him away and creates some distance, speed aura helps create some distance, and that it lets everyone stay away from him a little bit more for a little bit longer, which is good, because even though he's a sniper Reaper now, where he has, that silly long range, it's still more and more damage as he gets closer. Like, you still want to try to stay away from him a little bit. That's the thing your team wants to do. They want to make closing distance for him harder, and you do that by being on speed, not heals. He does so much damage that you being on heal aura is basically worthless, whereas you being on speed aura against a hero that's very distance dependent is quite good. Okay. trigger epilepsy. There you go. There's a strategy we haven't heard of before. Please use the wall. On the ground, on the ground, on the ground. You were on the ground the whole time. If you go, nope, I'm on the wall, you get out faster. If you go, nope, I'm on the wall, you do get out faster. Please don't just play on the ground. No, you do not. No ult charge for speed boosting. That doesn't change the fact, though, that it's his best thing. But yeah, getting sound barriers can be hard on Lucio, especially once you learn to play him right, because once you stop just living on heal aura all the time and spending all of your amps on heal aura, it's hard to keep up with ult charge with, other supports. That said, you still do it, and the ways you do it is you find every window you can to amp heals between fights after one team fights to try to catch up, and you also get good at using his weapon. There's a reason that Lucio is a hero that spams chokes really hard. Pre-spams a lot of stuff. Just goes, I'm gonna pre-spam this. I'm gonna try to get this. But yeah, you have to get good with his weapon play to keep up with your sound bearers. Otherwise, you are repeatedly going to get beaten by grabs, fluxes, transcendences, etc. And he does not have an easy weapon to use. Okay. Are we going after the Widow? No. Okay. That was an interesting little adventure. The wall is still your friend. Use the wall. Fine. Please leave. Good. Use the wall. Use the wall. You have boop. You can challenge him.
Raising the volume.
What's this for? Do you need speed to fight this Winston? You're still fine. Does your diva need amp speed to fight this Winston? She still had boosters going. Like, if she wants to be on top of this Winston, she can be on top of this Winston. Generally, it's not worth it to try to boost diva to make her boosters go faster. Like, that's not what you want to do. You want to have boost available for her. And this actually follows in general with the principles of dive, where you don't actually use Lucio's speed boost for the dive. Let's go back to classic dive, where we would have a Genji, a Winston, a diva, and a tracer. And then here's the enemies. 5 enemies over there, and remember, everyone would dive in trying to hit from different angles, and it would be great, and maybe our Lucio would go in as part of the dive. Great. You don't use your amp when the team is going in like this, because remember, they all came from different directions, and they all have movement abilities that they can get in with. You use the amp here after everyone is in and has used their movement abilities. So Winston doesn't have leap. Diva doesn't have boosters. Genji maybe got dash back from the elimination, maybe not, whatever. But, doesn't want to use it again because he doesn't immediately see the next elimination. You use amp so that they can continue to pursue to either get the next elimination because the rest of them already used their movement, or so that they can get out to behind cover so that now they have some sort of wall between them and the rest of the team and sort of do a little mini restabilize before they dive again. Use the amp to get out so they can restabilize, and then they'll do a more one-directional dive, but onto a weakened team, because now it's only enemy times 4, or whatever the case may be. So that's how he worked in traditional dive, and this is just a microcosm of that. Your Diva's already getting in with boosters, she's fine. She can have her amp to stick on the Diva, or to stick on the Winston, or to get out if she needs it, but she doesn't need your amp yet. And you don't need it yet either.
Push on. This is gonna make you feel better.
Why aren't you already on speed? The instant you hear this voice cue, you want to be on speed, because that could be the difference for people, including you getting out or not getting out of this ult. Once people are already lifted, yeah, go to heals, absolutely. Now that people are lifted, totally be on heals, but you should have been on speed to try to get out.
Oh, let's break it. Damn!
You guys stack support ults. I'm going to guess neither of you called that, which is unacceptable because you have plenty of time to call it in this one. Like some ults, a grab goes off and you guys haven't pre-planted and you think you're going to go down to the grab. I get it why double support ult comes out. You just got lifted though, and you can be shouting mine. You can literally be shouting mine, and if you find you're both shouting mine, maybe you shout yours. Like,
Oh, let's break it. Damn!
so for non-dive characters like Reinhardt, would you amp them earlier to help them get in? You can. You still want them to. You don't necessarily want to amp like. If your Reinhardt is here and the other Reinhardt is here, I don't necessarily want to amp my Reinhardt from here because that's just not going to work. But if I chose to amp my Reinhardt like here, I could live with that. I could also amp my Reinhardt here so that he can stick better. Like, you can amp them a little bit earlier for some rotational stuff, but it's a long cooldown. So you can't be like, hey, we're going to get shot at here because they have high ground people here. So I'm going to amp through here, and then I'll have amp back when we actually take the fight here. No, you won't have amp back. So you can use amp to help you rotate in some situations, but most of the time you want to be pretty darn close to the battle actually starting, but more like at the beginning of the battle, so your Rhine sticks to their Rhine, sticks to their Diva, sticks to their Hanzo that he's on, etc. You want to use amp as the battle is actually breaking out when you're playing with the Reinhardt, or maybe a pinch before. Whereas dive, the battle's long past breaking out when you've used your amp. The first stage of the battle is over, where the first dive was either successful or not successful. They combined all of their cooldowns for that potential of, hey, our dash plus our landing plus our double blink, one clip, plus our boosters, micro missiles, all either got its elimination or it didn't. Now let's amp to move our team on to the next enemy or to get them out behind cover, so that they can wait 3-4 seconds there to get their cooldowns back. Yes, they did. They used their ults at the same time. And I was annoyed because they did it against an ult where you have a lot of time actually to coordinate who's going to cover it in flux. Why are you in the open? Where's the wall? Where's the wall?
I am loving this.
30 seconds remaining.
I am loving this.
30 seconds remaining.
Remember when I talked about how when you jump off of walls into the open, you have nowhere to go? Now, that was meant for Soldier, not you, probably. But still, if you're on the wall, you have lots of options. If you're out here in open, you got nothing. If you're hopping off the wall, it's super obvious where you're going to go, which is why that hook might have been meant for you. fine.
20 seconds remaining.
Wall riding leaves some to be desired, but the amp was fine.
I'll show them.
Don't, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Knees through.
Oh my goodness. No, get out through Fountain. Fountain is right. Ugh. Cart was back here. You came up and were like, oh, I gotta take the fight. No. No. Diva was the only other person here. This fight was clearly over, but you had plenty of time to take a 6v6 back here. What were you doing up here? What were you doing up here? You had plenty of time. You can see your allies through walls. You had plenty of time to realize you have a feed enabled. You have plenty of time to realize that your teammates aren't here all throughout here and you go, no, I'm going to turn around and go right back here and wait. Maybe, in fact, I'll go back and I'll taxi my teammates in so that we for sure get our 6v6 before it's here. Now you've gone down super late and your team is going to drop first. And maybe your team would have dropped first anyways, but this is big on you and that you robbed your team of a team fight here.
Let's up the tempo. And the beat goes
Payload
on.
has reached the
Nothing's
checkpoint.
gonna stop me. Healing rule.
This is not DPS Lucioing. I'm fine with DPS Lucioing. This is not that.
Let's get patched up. Move to the beat. Feel the healing beat. Speed boost. Feel the healing beat.
You on heals? You're doing your random switch shenanigans. I don't like it. Don't do this. You could decide that, hey, my Reinhardt should have speed right now. You'd sort of be right, except your Reinhardt is determined to not do anything useful, so you're better off being on heals. Okay, that's an ult. We're on speed. Great.
You feel that?
Why are we now back on heals? Once they're lifted, sure, go heals, but... What are we doing? Are we going to speed around our soldier who's visoring? No. No, we're not. We're going to just use speed. We're just going to use heals. Okay. Late speed switch. Why are you on heals? Why did you go on heals at all? Okay, let's do this. Okay, you just heard a friendly used an ult. Your team is very likely to push during this ult, and even if your team doesn't, the ulting person is likely to push during the ult. Speed looks like a good idea. Also, your Reinhardt is in a range where it can swing. Speed looks like a great idea. Why are we still on heals? Now we've moved over to speed. Good, good. Speed also helps us maintain distance against Symmetra. I'm good. Why are we back on heals? Why are we back on heals? I see that they're both missing health. Why are we on heals?
I love the smell of pulse munitions.
Okay, soldier's at full now and still using his ult. Why are you on heals? Go to speed. Go to speed. Go to speed.
Up the volume.
Why are you amping heals? Your Reinhardt has armor. Amping speed could be interesting. It lets the soldier deepen his angle. Yeah? You're not... What are you doing? You're like amping for just your Reinhardt. Heals. Yuck. Oh, look, another ult is going off. You know what that means? It means speed. Speed.
Let's up the tempo.
Speed. I want my Reinhardt to be able to get closer to them faster to follow up. I want my team to be able to loop around this corner faster to follow up. I want you on speed here. Now you're on speed for like an instant before you go back to heals. And now you're just in dance lands. Gamebuster, I understand what you're saying, that Ryan and Diva are both lowish, but I don't care because that's not how Lucio wins fight. Contributing Lucio's minor healing outside of AMP or even in AMP to healing up big bulky tanks that are down a lot of health really is not the difference maker that Lucios tend to think it is. It's really not. Like, you have to think about the opportunity cost of what they can do. And honestly, in this healing setup, if this was a good team, now it's not because it's ladder, so it's disorganized and it's silver. But honestly, this is a legit healing combination. You do not see me, you do not see pro players, you do not see people who understand the game complain that loudly about this healing combination. You do see silver and bronze and gold and plat players complain about this healing combination. The reason for that is that this combination is perfectly valid because it has a lot of explosive offensive power, so you don't need the sustained healing. Discord Orb plus high damage and speed plus amp speed is amazing in terms of, hey, we don't need a lot of healing because we'll be decisive about taking our fights. We'll use our cover, we'll use our cover, we'll use our cover, and then we will explosively go in and win the fight very hard and fast with our Discord Orb and our amp speed and all of that. And the Lucio does not swap an amp heal in the middle of it. He uses speed. He uses that amp speed to make sure that they win the fight quickly. And when you think about it, it becomes a case of, okay, we can get more value out of using the amp speed because the amp speed lets our Reinhardt get to the target and win the fight faster if the target is trying to kite him a little bit. Lets our Winston transition back. All those things. Or he can transition out. Our Reinhardt can transition out with that speed, and then that's okay because he has hard cover. So we're not using the amp heals. We're not going, I'm going to heal my Reinhardt because he's missing health. We're using speed so our Reinhardt can get behind cover or get to the enemy, because both of those are better than trying to heal your Reinhardt through standing and open there. Does that make sense? Yes, Kroger. That's exactly what it was. I expect that's what it was. I had two options, and I've explained the two thoughts of why he's swapping so much, and that was one of my thoughts at the beginning here. That he probably read somewhere. He either read somewhere that that was a way to make yourself more evasive, which, yes, that's a thing that can be done, but better ways to make yourself more evasive are being on walls and going, I'm going to be more evasive while standing in open space is silly. There's much better things to do to make yourself more evasive. The other possibility was he saw high-level players switch a lot, and high-level players do switch a lot, but he's not understanding what's actually triggering each switch. And he's just thinking they switch a lot. And I guess it's one of those two things. That's what you do in organized play, Game Buster. That's what you do at a high level. I accept that that's not going to happen, but you still want to pull some principles for it to go, hey, I want my team to win during our attack visor. I want my team to win during our shatter. I don't want to just sustain my team while we're attack visoring or shattering. Like, I need my team to win. If this healing combination is going to work, I need my team to win explosively while our visor is going off. Right. Manipulating distance so that the sim can't do damage, so that the Reaper can't do damage, so that you get it. And that was the other thing. It was like, oh, hey, I'm going to hit my healing aura. Well, there's a sim wall that's blocking your healing aura on everyone behind you. But, yeah. Please use the wall. Please use the wall. For all you support players that hate Doomfist, Lucio's a pretty good Doomfist counter. The reason he's a pretty good Doomfist counter is that Doomfist gets very unhappy when his target is up on a wall because he can't slam them and knock them into the air to set them at the right height for him to go slam uppercut shenanigans. Lucio is able to stay above Doomfist. Anyone that can stay elevation-wise above Doomfist can repeatedly chip him down and make him unhappy. Does that mean Lucio is going to get a lot of Doomfist eliminations? No. But Lucio should very rarely get eliminated by Doomfist and should very frequently be able to chip him down to the point at which he doesn't want to come in. He wants to go get more health. He wants to get healed, etc. He wants to go reset up for a different rollout from somewhere else. This shouldn't happen. Nope. And your boop isn't going to counter that punch anyways, even if you timed it better.
60 seconds remaining.
Yeah, let's pick it up.
Can we use the wall? Thank you.
Healing boost. Check this out.
30 seconds remaining.
Yeah, I know. I know.
You feel that?
Meteor strike. Meteor strike.
There's a meteor strike going off. I wonder which aura we should be on. I wonder which aura we should be on. I wonder which aura we should be on. Obviously, the answer is speed. So, like, you clearly don't have a good feel for when you need to be using speed versus heal. During ults, speed is almost always the right answer. You're not going to heal your team through opposing ults. You want to enable your team's ults. And lots of these ults, we'll use some examples that we've seen here. Hey, how do you counter, or what's your best tool against a Sigma ult as Lucio? Well, if you have speed up, there's more chance of them getting out of the zone, the flux zone. Okay, Doomfist, well, if you have speed up, there's more chance of your teammates getting out of the impact zone, or further from the epicenter where they'll take less damage. That taking less damage is more important than getting an extra 12 points of healing on them if they were missing health. Okay, well, what else? Well, if there's a high noon going off, do we want to heal people? No, we want to speed so that they can break line of sight behind hard cover better. Okay, well, what if there's attack hazard? No, we still want to speed so that we can get behind cover better. You see how this is all going? You see how this is all going? Speed is really good when you're using ults or when the opponents are using ults. What if they're blossoming? If the opponent is dropping with a blossom, we want to heal so that we can live? No, we want to speed so that our people cannot get caught in it or can get out of it faster. Like, speed is going to be the bigger difference maker in most of these situations, but especially some of these more obvious ones like Flux and Meteor Strike. Of course I talk about Flux and you get fluxed with heals up.
Oh, let's break it. Damn! Yeah, let's pick it up.
10 seconds remaining.
Oh, turn it up.
So hard to get.
Tactical visor activated.
Oh boy. Okay. These have to be fixed. You're not playing Lucio if you can't fix these. These have to be fixed. So, healing, we're going to tree branch this. Heal is good for poke and between pushes. Speed is generally good for ults, we'll call it that, and for initiation, as well as, I don't know, retreating, kiting, not making temporal rage. No. Okay, so when you're thinking about your crossfades, you're going to see that, hey, speed is really good. If you really start looking at, okay, think about like each ability, and you'd really come out with, wait, speed is a lot better than heal. That's because it is. But you do need to do some heal. You do need to catch up on ult charge between fights. You are going to be in situations where people have already been hit by flux, and you're like, or they're already caught in a grab. And yes, at that point, of course, it makes sense to be on heal aura. That's fine. But for enabling your own team's ults, be they High Noon, be they Blizzard, be they your own sound barrier, be they Earth Shatter, be they a grab that you hit, be they um, Blossom, like they're almost all going to get better from you popping speed and probably you popping amp speed as opposed to you being on heal aura. Now in the poke phase, and you might have trouble recognizing what's the poke phase versus what's the actual like the fight is committed phase. In the poke phase, you can be set up with heal aura. That's fine. The poke phase is going to go for a while. You don't want your team to fall behind. You're just like, hey, it's poke phase. I'll get some health. But once something actually super aggressive happens, like an ult gets committed, the Reinhardts are actually swinging at each other and pushing in, and it's not just a one swing and then out trade. And even that one swing and out trade, you'd probably be better being on speed on because it gives your Reinhardt more ability to manipulate, or a dive comes through, or maybe multiple picks happen. Well, the fight's clearly happening at that point, and speed starts looking really, really good. But especially when ults are going off, when you one team or the other is hard committing to the fight, when you go, hey, my team is backing out and I can see that they're backing out, I want you to be thinking about using that speed aura. I want you to go, hey, when does it make sense to be using speed? I want you to think a lot less about this rapid switching shenanigans that you're doing, because that's wrong, and instead thinking about why you're on which aura when. And I've given you a nice little list here. Is it perfect? Is it all encompassing? Does it cover every situation? Absolutely not. But I need you thinking about when to use which, and here are some more than rough guidelines on when to use which. Okay, that's such a big topic that I don't really want to give you another one. I hate that you just end up in the open and don't wall ride more. I dislike that you don't use your boops well enough to enable stuff, but I'm going to be honest, your understanding of Lucio needs to all be tied to these crossfades. Like, this by far needs to be what is worked on. So let's get rid of the rapid switching nonsense, because that's basically just don't do that effectively. There's a very narrow place where you do that and you're not doing it. Instead, go, hey, let me figure out which aura to be on when. Once you figure out which aura to be on when, then you can go, hey, when should I actually commit my amp in these situations? That would be like the next level of it. If I'm consistently on the right aura, now when do I get enough value out of speed to warrant using my amp, to warrant using my amp either for speed or for heals? And good examples would be, hey, with some ults, using the amp is going to be worth it. With the initiation, it's frequently going to be worth it. With the full retreating, if your team is actually retreating and you think they could get out, it could be worth it if you have it. Probably not going to be worth it for generic kiting, but could be. Between pushes after a wipe, that could be worth it. During poke, probably not going to be worth it. So you'll get into some of this stuff, but first get your being on the right auras correct, then move on to your amps. And, then start working on your wall riding, and then start working on your aim, and then start working on using your wall riding and your aim to properly threaten, to properly be able to boop Reinhardts, etc. But we're getting ahead of yourselves. For now, focus on your crossfades. If anyone has any questions, please throw them up in chat now. If you guys are enjoying the content, please do like and subscribe, as that helps me out quite a bit, and I do appreciate it. Or if you are looking to get coaching yourself, you can join my Discord in the description below, see what rates look like, see what sort of promos, events we have going on, all that good stuff. Okay. Uh, okay. Okay. He didn't want to mist healing. He's a good pro. Let's see. Bets that 2 was wall riding. 2 would have been wall riding if I was really going to give him a 2. It was kind of wall riding and amp. I gave him a 1, and then I said I wasn't giving it to him a 2. But then if you guys were listening closely, wall riding and amp timing are what I really talked about in the shadow 2 and 3 slots. Um, Uh, Ryan Shield's skin is just different temporal writing on screen moments. Okay. No, I'm gonna do one more. Okay, that's gonna do it. I am going to do another VOD here, so I hope to see you guys in 5 minutes. Thanks, guys. Temporal out.